You know, they're selling you all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you'll do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. Normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I am gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show, live on YouTube and obviously podcast form, 10 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, 10 p.m. in the UK, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And I'll be honest, this is a little bit off topic. This is a little bit off of boxing, MMA, and all that, and what we're going to get into with the show topics. News broke maybe an hour ago that rapper and hip-hop artist Mac Miller died due to an overdose. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Out of all the celebrity deaths of the last, decade, this one actually affects me. So I'm a little bit off today, I'll be honest. The last hour has been awful for me because when I was, just a young lad, my mom went through cancer several times. And a few albums, obviously I'm a music head, so, albums stuck with me at certain periods in time when things were going on in my life. The Best Day Ever mixtape with Mac Miller, obviously by Mac Miller, was one that just really affected me, helped me through a dark period of my time. So this is just rough for me. Out of all the celebrity deaths, this is actually really sad and depressing to me. For someone, me personally, I've dealt with drug issues. I've dealt with depression and suicidal issues. If you're out there and you need help, please get help. Please. Like, if I'm somebody that's went and had to get help, go get help. In a time when we've seen so many people get caught up in, the opioid epidemic, our overall mental health issue as a nation, please go get help. There's access for you. There's free ways to get help. Please go do it. And I know that's kind of a very somber, depressing way to start the show, so we're kind of switch topics, Put that all aside. R.I.P. Mac Miller. You will be missed and not forgotten, though, man. What a phenomenal artist you were. But it is Mixed Time at Radio, so you know what that means. It's going to be a show where we discuss all things boxing, MMA, and everything in between. So hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. I already see somebody called in. I know that number. Oh, that's going to really bug me. And I will go to you, sir, eventually, 917. God, is that KM Star? It's either KM Star or Mike from New York, and I don't know which one it is, and I feel bad because it might not be either, and then I really feel like an asshole. But 917, I will go to you eventually. Don't worry. After we get past the first couple of head topics, I'll get to you, so you don't have to rate the whole show. But yes, quickly, everyone in the chat: Louie, CMD, Gus, Stewie, Jay. Lord Jacob, Hipsters Here, Haters Beware, What is Up, Potential Lunatic, Bayside Boxing. It's everyone's echoing what I'm saying. RP Mac Miller, insane. But anyways, moving on. We obviously have boxing, MMA topics to get to. So let's get into it because, like I've said, get all that depressing shit out of the way. Because we do have some good news. We do have some stuff I think we need to debate. We need to have a discussion about. Please call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. If you are international, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. I can get you that international call-in link. But yes, let's go to the main topic of the day, which I'm not going to say is surprising. I'll be honest. Me and somebody in the box industry were having discussions about who Eddie Hearn could sign. He talked about signing a top 5 pound-for-pound guy. Usyk was a name that was brought up. So when this news broke that Usyk has now signed with Matchroom in a co-promotional deal with, obviously, K2 Promotions, his old promoter, and now Matchroom Boxing, and obviously now be an official DAZN fighter. First off, salute, because it is. We're going to get into, obviously, the pros and cons of it, but Usyk is still a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. Now, is he the guy to transcend the mark in the U.S.? Of course not. I feel like that's obvious. Like I honestly believe no one is making that argument that now that they have Usyk, it's game over for DAZN and ESPN and everyone. It's going to be obviously, they're going to run training now. It's not going to happen that way. It just isn't. Usyk is a great fighter, pound-for-pound talent, arguably one of the best resumes in the world right now. Is he the guy to all of a sudden turn DAZN into a profitable streaming service in the U.S.? No, absolutely not. That's not the case. I think no one is making that argument. And quickly, Aaron Munoz saying, looking forward to the Patreon shirt. Matty Ice, yes. Yes. This is one of them. Yes. But anyways, digressing. Again, I think it's a great signing because obviously Usyk is a insane talent, an extremely gifted boxer. In 15 fights, he arguably has one of the most impressive resumes in the game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Potential Lunatic adding a detail that I did not add. Sorry for that. It's a 3-fight deal. Similar to Luis Ortiz, and that's one criticism I've seen of the deal, is that the worry or the concern of them treating Tony Bellew like they treated Luis Ortiz. I'm hoping and believing that doesn't happen. With Eddie and what I think he's trying to do with DAZN, he needs a guy like Usyk. Even though Usyk's a guy that's not going to all of a sudden come in here and start main eventing at Staples Center and MSG, selling it out and doing, 100 million views on HBO and Showtime. That's not him. But is he a hardcore darling that we all care about to where we might actually pay money to see him fight on DAZN? Potentially. And, of course, he could be a headlining feature that may not be your marquee guy, but he adds credibility to your roster. He adds credibility to your network. Because not only do you have your, we've been sort of criticizing his stable in the U.S., his stable outside of Matchroom UK. Usyk adds credibility to that. It just does. We're going to move on to the next piece of news. And, again, I think it's a good sort of a move overall. I don't think it's a game changer. I think that's probably the most clear thing. And I want to add to it, though, before we move off this topic. Homie Mookie Alexander over at Bloody Elbow making a great point on Twitter saying the value of the World Boxing Super Series. Alexander Usyk went from $75,000 purse versus Mukunu in 2016 to earning millions in the World Boxing Super Series, wins the damn thing, and becomes top 3 pound for pound. And now he's with Eddie Hearn with the potential for even bigger paydays. I think that's probably the most astute point to put about it. Obviously, when we hear about DAZN and Eddie signing fighters, we instantly start thinking about it more from a network perspective. But if you're in Usyk's shoes, think about his run, his trajectory into this sphere. It is highly, highly impressive. It is almost unparalleled in the sport, at least nowadays. I mean, the only guy that comes close is Lomachenko, but he has a loss. Usyk didn't. He became an undisputed champion. He may not be a 3-division champion or a 2-division champion, but he is at least a undisputed champion. That does count for something there. But we're going to move on to some more news of the day. Last news of the day. So 917, if you want to get on after this news, press 1 so I know I can go to you. Sergey Kovalev and Eleider Alvarez, or I should say Eleider Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev rematch heading to 2019. And I feel like I've been consistent when I hear this talk, when this language of, oh, the fight's getting pushed back. It's not going to happen. It's just, I don't think it's happening. I think Eleider Alvarez is going to find a way to get out of this rematch clause, and he's going to fight somebody else. I truly believe that. And we're going to see Kovalev slowly devolve into irrelevancy. Now, to be honest, though, I could see Alvarez sticking with it because it's still a payday. You're still probably going to win this fight against Sergey Kovalev, so maybe that way, but I don't know. Louis saying, how do you think Usyk gets on at heavyweight, Matt? I think he does well. I think the only fights I'm really concerned about for him in terms of, like, obviously he's not the favorite, or I don't really see him winning it, is AJ Wilder. Everyone else I can see him winning, to be quite honest. Even big guys like Joe Miller. But we're going to head over to 917, because I'm highly curious about who this is. So I know it's a TBV number from back in the day when I used to work that show. So 917, who is this?
Hey, Matthew, it's Castle Hill Gill here.
Oh, Castle Gill, man. What's up, man? Damn it.
Good,
damn
man.
it. Damn it. See, I don't have your number.
Driving home.
See, Castle Hill, I have your number saved now on my phone, so when we text and stuff, I don't see your number anymore. I just see the 917, so I'm thinking like, okay, East Coast callers. Damn it.
Fair enough, man. You got a ton of listeners, so you're not going to remember everybody. But let's get to the boxing talk. You're talking about Usyk and how he would fare at heavyweight. You could also talk a little bit about Danny Garcia. Mm-hmm. And I actually wanted to touch on UFC stuff, because I know the bring when it comes to that stuff. And I mean, I used to watch a lot back in the day, and I'm kind of getting back into it now. But I can see, the big guys would give Usyk problems. I would include Tyson Fury in that group with AJ and Wilder as prohibitive just because of their size. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I can see him being successful in that division as well. I mean, he's so smooth. He's got all the skills to pay the bills. He doesn't have much pop, but he can probably box a lot of these big guys out.
Agreed. I think his footwork is just tremendous. Like, his footwork will help him tremendously at heavyweight. If he didn't have that, I would be concerned.
Right. And obviously the pedigree, and I mean, he's really nice to look at. I'm very feel, So I'm very feel. You don't remember?
I'm very
feel. From the last.
I'm very feel.
There you go.
Absolutely. And rest in peace, obviously, to Mac Miller, family and friends. Wasn't very familiar with his music, Matthew, but I'm sorry that occurred today. And just blessings to everybody there. And you want to talk about this weekend?
Sorry, what was that? You're cutting out a little bit there, Castle.
I'm sorry, I'm computing. That's why I used myself earlier, but hopefully you can hear me now. You want to talk about this weekend? Who you got? You got Danny or you got Sean?
I got Danny. I'll be honest. I think Danny is just... his punching technique, like his form, is so much cleaner to me than Sean Porter. And I keep falling down to that. Even though I think Sean Porter could just rough him up, make him uncomfortable, I see him being too wild. I see him being too ineffective in there.
Yeah, so you're betting on Danny being able to catch him on the counter, I guess, and I guess putting some hurt on him, because Sean's not gonna stop coming at him unless Danny's able to really hurt him. I mean, obviously we're both thinking. I think Danny will probably win as well, but I am a little concerned about the intensity and that pressure that Sean comes with, because I mean, honestly, that fight with Rios was close. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Sean is kind of like Rios on crack. I mean, on pads, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm eager. This is one of the fights that I'm really looking forward to, and I'm eager to see what happens. I think Danny should be a little bit classier in there, and should be able to capitalize on I guess Sean's lack of. I'm gonna just call it boxing skill because he's not very skillful. And but then again, you never know what can happen if he creates confusion and chaos and starts up. I mean, Sean can punch. He came down from one. Remember when Sean was at 160, if I'm not mistaken, back in like 2012 or something.
Yeah.
So the guy's a big guy for 147. Believe it or not, he's short. He's super stocky. So it's going to be interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sean would somehow be able to pull it off. And how about this UFC fight? All right, so Woodley, I know. I'm sorry, I don't want to.
No.
Too. I know you separate.
No. Castle Hill
Sure?
Gill, man, you can talk about whatever you want, man. This is the platform for you guys. Don't worry about it.
All right. So, all right, I like Woodley. I've been paying attention to him. I've been listening to the show, so now I'm aware of who like Colby Covington is, and kind of like his premise and what he's all about, and how that would make a great clash.
Mm-hmm.
Two guys getting in there. So what's up with this Till guy? What are his chances? Is he going to ruin that Covington Woodley fight?
He could.
He could in the future.
He could. The way I look at it is that the real estate of this fight is going to be very key. Obviously, Darren Till does his best work when he has you against the cage, and he has a little bit of space to be able to work that left hand because he's a southpaw, and he has such tremendous power. However, though, Woodley loves to have his back against the cage. Counterintuitive to probably what every coach, every ref, or not every ref, every trainer says to him. He actually walks to the cage, similar to, like, let's say a boxer wanting to be on the ropes. He does that. And I think if Darren Till is able to keep Woodley on the defensive and thinking more, he can actually maybe find some holes and piece him up. Because we've seen guys like Rory McDonald do that. Rory McDonald was able to really press Woodley up against the cage, beat him up, but he had better defensive skill than Darren Till. That's what I keep coming down to with this fight. Darren Till defensively is not the most sound guy. He's such an offensive threat that defensively he has holes. So I see even though when Darren Till gets comfortable against the cage and he's pressing Tyron Woodley, we're going to see Woodley explode and land that right hand. And then on top of that, the wrestling game.
No, go ahead, continue, Matt.
No, I say on top of that, the wrestling game. Obviously, Woodley is a tremendous collegiate wrestler, and Darren Till has never faced anyone like that.
And I know he's a great striker, too. I've seen him knock guys out.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got both, kind of, right? Woodley does?
Yes. And Darren Till has a...
How's Till striking? How's Till striking? I'm obviously going to talk to this guy first, but we love striking.
Darren Till's a striker. Darren Till's a striker. He is a... Remember like Lyoto Machida back in the day? Guys like that. He fights...
Oh, yeah. He was like a karate guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Darren Till, but he's a little more vicious with his hands. He is. He has some good hands,
all right, well,
man. He has some good boxing.
To that one. That's going to be a good one then. I'm definitely going to fire stick it. I'm not going to buy it, but it'll be fun. And I'm not going to take up any more of your time, even though this has been very entertaining for me. And I'll come on some other time as well. But, we'll touch base offline at some point. I want to talk to you about a couple of things, and I'll let you continue with the show, Matt. You're doing a great job, bud.
Thank you, man. Have a good one. Castle Hill Gill, one of the pound-for-pound supporters on Patreon. Salute to him, man. One of the legends. Yo, Fat Apples, you need to send me a link to that. Apparently in the chat he's saying Anthony Joshua had his Range Rover stolen. That's... Oh, man, that's good. But moving on, Santiago and Ron, press 1 whenever you guys want to come on. Obviously, we still have the UFC topic to get to, so I know Ron probably wants to get to that. So, Ron, maybe wait till I get to Nicco Montano. Moving on, this is going to be a little bit of, maybe like yesterday's, where like a bunch of news or rumors we've sort of talked about on the show is now confirmed in some way, shape, or form, so, or at least more information's about it. So, Lomachenko versus Pedraza, which we all know has been December's the month. Now we have a date, December 8th, and a city, not a venue yet, but the venue should be assumed. It is New York City, so that basically means it's going to be the MSG, probably the theater, though. If I'm them, risk it, put them in the main stadium because that's what I would do. Actually test his drawing power there with the Ukrainian and Eastern European market in Russia. In New York. Let's be honest. But yes, December 8th, New York City. If you're a fan, obviously Castro Gill out there in New York City in the tri-state area. Lomachenko-Pedraza coming to a venue near you. Moving on to some more news that's been, again, we've talked about on the show recently, just more confirmed at this point. Josh Taylor versus Ryan Martin and Ryan Burnett versus Nonito Donaire. The doubleheader is on November 3rd in Glasgow, Scotland, which actually is a fun city. I've been there once. Shout out to the clubs there. That's all I'm going to say. Perfect time for an off-topic question. Fernando Valenzuela saying, hey, Matt, off-topic question. After Mikey beats Loma, well, first of all, that's not happening. What do you think he should do next? I'm against him moving up to 147. Well, let's just go along like your thought process here. Like, let's say if Mikey beats Loma, what should he do next? I know you don't like 147, but that's really all that's left. Maybe fights like Gervonta Davis are out there. I don't know, but there's not much at 135 after Lomachenko. That seems like the fight to make, and if that's over and you win it, let's move on. Boxing Blunt saying you murdered that name, Matt. Hey. I apologize. I am as white as they come, let's be honest. But moving on, some more news. Jonah Carroll, inking promotional pact with Eddie Hearn, a former Frank Warren fighter. I don't know if he was a official Frank Warren guy, like if he was signed at Tennessee Sports, but he is now officially with Eddie Hearn and will be on the October 20th card in Boston. Obviously, he won't be on the October 20th card. He will be fighting for some eliminator to the Tevin Farmer fight on that October 20 card. But I believe that's how it is. But yes, Jonah Carroll, who is a fun fighter, all action. Obviously not probably the world beater that some people may think, but fun. Like, I love watching Jonah Carroll fights. His fight with Declan Garrity was one of those sleeper fights of the year where obviously it's not fight of the year, but if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's fun. It's entertaining. Moving on to some more news. Keith Thurman. Speaking of Keith Thurman, some actual news about Keith Thurman. But wait, it's not actual fighting news. Keith Thurman will serve as guest analyst for Garcia Porter, which makes a lot of sense. It's just unfortunate that this is the most active we've seen Keith Thurman. But hey, we're going to see Keith Thurman in front of cameras on Showtime. How long has it been since we've seen that? It feels like a decade. I know it's probably only been like a year and a half, but it feels like a decade. The guy that at one time was two-time, now WBA super champion, playing the flute wherever he's at, newly married, living the life. That's just Boxing Blunt's saying it perfectly. I forgot about Thurman. Yes. So did the entire boxing world. It is what it is. Speaking of the entire boxing world, we all told Ryan Garcia that he needs to sit down going forward because he basically is not the goods yet. And it looks like Golden Boy is going to tell him that as well. Per Steve Kim at Boxing saying Ryan Garcia to meet with Golden Boy and discuss the future. And there's some interesting quotes in here, so go read it. But it's basically PR talk for, hey, we know we hyped up Ryan a lot. We know Ryan, we know we hyped you up a lot, but let's slow it down a little bit. You have a lot to learn, to use an exact quote from Eric Gomez. Yes, he does. He has a lot to learn. And them seemingly pumping the brakes on this hype train is good. They're not doubling down on it, which is a good thing to hear, because if we saw, let's say, Ryan Garcia in an eliminator next with, let's say, like a Jason Sosa type, God, that'd be awful to see, right? Like, that would be concerning to see as a consumer. So let's push it back a little bit. Let's have Ryan Garcia actually develop into something instead of pushing him when he's not ready. Moving on to some MMA topics of the day. So, yes, if you do want to talk just boxing, you got to call in right now, 323-870-4051, or email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com to get that international call-in link. But let's move on to MMA topics of the day. And honestly, this was surprising. Talking about Darren Till with Castle Hill Gill and his chances of winning. A lot of that was predicated, not a lot of it, but some of it's predicated on the weight cut. Darren Till cuts an insane amount of weight to make 170, and he still doesn't look healthy at the scales, let's be honest, but he made weight. So all the concern about him not being able to make the fight, them having a alternate just in case, paying Kamaru Usman to train and come out for the fight, cut weight just in case, and that is not the fight to be canceled. Nope. No, it is not. Nicco Montano, hospitalized, UFC 228 title fight canceled. And to actually give the quote from one of her teammates who made the official statement, let me find it. She will be fine in a few days. The UFC medical team was called in to evaluate her this morning during the process of her weight cut. They determined that she had to cease cutting weight and be transported to and treated at the local hospitals for issues regarding her kidney function. And to be honest, for all you fans out there questioning it, calling her a coward, first off, fuck you. Okay? I don't want you to listen, so go listen to another show, please. Okay? I'm good without it. As someone that's seen a dear family member deal with kidney failure, yeah, when your kidney starts failing on you during a weight cut, that's not something to joke about. That's not something that is her being a coward. I know Valentina Shevchenko has come out and said that, and to be honest, that's kind of her job to do that. I don't blame her. But all you fans out there, come on. But then, let's be honest, this is the same fan group that defended Nazi tattoos. So, let's be honest about that one. But yeah, obviously, I hope that Montana is okay. I hope that she's healthy. It looks like the Shevchenko fight is completely off. She's not getting a replacement fighter. Yeah, this is just sad in a lot of ways. And as such, Jimmy Rivera and who is it? Aljamain? No, not Aljamain Sterling. Jimmy Rivera versus who? God, why am I getting that? Why am I not thinking about it off the top of my head? Come on. I had the article up. Damn. What's the fight? Jimmy Rivera versus John Dodson. God. Shots at me. I blame Mac Miller. Probably too soon. But yes. Jimmy Rivera versus John Dodson has been moved up to the pay-per-view card. Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Jessica Andrade has now been moved to the co-main. And it is what it is. God knows what's going to happen. Most likely, Nicco Montano is going to get stripped of her belt, knowing the UFC and how they function. Let's be completely honest. Kyle Michael saying, surprised they're not doing an interim belt for Valentina. They tried. Caitlin Strokagan, I believe it's how you pronounce her last name. She was in Dallas. They contacted her. She couldn't cut weight. She didn't have enough time. But they did try. I think there's just a lack of people there. I think there was some thought, obviously, of bringing up, let's say, an Andrade or a Kowalkiewicz up to the fight and make that for an interim belt. But the Texas Commission has a rule, shout out to the Texas Commission, where you can't fight more than 5 pounds under your opponent's weight. So let's say, obviously, Kowalkiewicz, Andrade weighed in 115, Shevchenko weighed in 125. So that, per the commission, is not allowed. But that was some thought. So Kyle, they did try. It wasn't to be, it seems. So God knows what's going to happen next. Hopefully, like I've said, Montana's okay. I think that's kind of getting lost in all of it is the health of fighters, how dangerous weight cutting is, and it's seemingly another sign that fighters cutting weight, that culture needs to be fixed. The regulation needs to be fixed. Everything about it needs to be reformed or thrown out. I don't know how it's done, but it needs to. Speaking of someone getting thrown out, though, Erick Silva signing a multi-fight deal with Bellator. Air horns? I mean, there was once upon a time where Erick Silva was one of the best prospects in the UFC, and that obviously has faded with loss after loss after loss. But yes, multi-fight deal with Bellator. Good for Bellator. It's what they do. You know, for everyone giving Oscar and all of them shit for signing Gleason Tebow to a one-off, are y'all gonna give Bellator shit for signing Erick Silva to a multi-fight deal? Come on. I see all you hypocrite media people out there. Come on, let's be real. Moving on, though. Speaking of news that we've talked about, that's just more official now. Junior Santos versus Tai Tuivasa is now official for the UFC Adelaide main event, I believe in December. So, yes, that is completely confirmed and official for all of you Adelaide local fans. Speaking of another fight to be confirmed, and last news of the day till we go to our last couple callers. So, again, Santiago, Ron, press 1 if I know you guys are available. If not, I might just go out of here because it looks like maybe you guys are busy. But Alex Garcia versus Court McGee booked for UFC Moncton. So, good fight. Alex Garcia should win this. Court McGee is a guy that great story, but just not a great athlete. Let's be completely honest. Moving over, though, to Ron, the mastermind over at TBV and his own channel, Fighter IQ. Go check him out. Pause. But, Ron, how you doing, man?
Yo, what's up? Just gonna touch on some things that you mentioned and said. The big thing was the whole Nicco and Shevchenko thing. It's pretty unfortunate just because the fact that, you know, there's two ways you can look at it. Shevchenko, I think she said she trained 3 times, you know, or had like 3 training camps to prepare herself for this opportunity. And, you know, then Nicco's reputation, unfortunately, is looked upon as some sort of ducking machine or something like that, which is very unfortunate because, you know, she came up as like the dark horse or like the underdog in the Ultimate Fighter, had a pretty good story, seeing that, you know, they were highlighting her as being like the first Native American, like UFC champion. And, you know, this was her opportunity to kind of go against, you know, really tough opposition, you know, championship kind of level pedigree. And, you know, now she's looked at the duck. And it's unfortunate. You know, I feel like Max Holloway also had this kind of scenario where he's been getting injured and the Brian Ortega thing. But I think that people's receiving that a little bit better than the Nicco, which is also unfortunate. So, you know, just if you're able to kind of understand Max Holloway's situation, I think it's fair to give Nicco that same kind of benefit. And, you know, like you were mentioning about the whole stripping of the belt, you know, I hope maybe they can just move him over to the next card or something, or try to work something out. You know, I don't know, maybe it sounds kind of crazy, but maybe like Brian Ortega, Max Holloway, Nicco, Shevchenko, kind of like, you know, that the fights that couldn't get made, that'd probably be like a pretty good card, in my opinion. But overall, I mean, the UFC, they need to figure something out, because I found out many times that I had opportunity to go to these UFC events, but I've always questioned it going, because I always know that the co-main or main event always gets pulled out. So it's not really like worth my time or energy or money to go to these events when I know that one of the fights I probably want to keep out is not going to be actually going on. Mm-hmm. So they do need to figure something out, maybe structure, maybe different things for the weight cutting. I don't know the science, unfortunately. But if anyone does, I definitely say that they need to go and implement some new rules and stuff, because I think it's just bad for the athletes, the sport, the consumers who are out there to Vegas or whatever cities they advertise the fights, and then now, you know, they're there and they don't get to see the fight they want. And, you know, that's what kind of led me to not really want to go to the kind of Conor McGregor and Khabib event, not just because of the pricing and everything, but just the simple fact that, like, I'm afraid that something will prevent, you know, a fight. You know, I'm not going to go out there to an overpriced Vegas week. So, on top of that, the Usyk signing is good for Usyk, but it didn't really do anything for the American public, I don't think. But, you know, congrats to him. You know, he did work hard, and I do feel like he deserves all the accolades that he does. I don't think anyone really touched on or did the fight predictions for the the Superfly. I am pretty excited to see the Donnie Nietes, the Filipino guy. He definitely seems like the goods. You know, I'm pretty upset. They always do it where they stack all these fight cards on the HBO, the Showtime, the UFC. Thankfully, like the UK fight is going to be obviously in UK time. Samir Khan on DAZN on the Facebook, and then there's an Australian fight on ESPN Plus in the morning. But they always do this. They always stack the card. So unfortunately, I'm probably not going to be able to see the Superfly card till later. I'm going to probably miss a lot of the UFC card, until the Darren Till and Woodley fight, which I'm probably going to pick Woodley just because the fact that I think Dos Anjos mentioned something that if Till missed weight, he would have the advantage, but if he made weight, he would be at a disadvantage because of that weight cutting. But Woodley is a little inactive, compared to Till, and he is older, so that's always a factor. But I think I'll probably go with Woodley for the reasons, like you said, I think he's a pretty good counter puncher. And I did think that Till did lose to Wonder Boy too, so you factor all that. I know it's triangle theories, but I think that he's dealt with those type of oppositions before, and it's nothing new for Woodley. And then the Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, I'm gonna go with my heart on that. I'll probably go with Sean Porter just because like the relentlessness. But I did watch the Thurman fight a couple of times with Porter, man. And he was getting hit with a lot of left hooks. And, Danny does have a good right hook, too. I think it's underrated. People probably don't look at it as much. But I wouldn't be surprised if Danny wins, too. So I'm just going to do that heart pick with Sean Porter. But, man, but I think my brain wants to go with Danny Garcia. But I think that's most of the topics that we talked about. I don't think I missed anything. But, yeah, if you guys are tuning in right now from Mixed Combat Radio for the first time, man, support my boy Matt. It takes a lot of time, and he makes these shows. So just support him. Hit the subscribe button. Join his Patreon. Anything like that. That does help his channel a lot. And even if you're just listening, calling in also helps his channel too, because he's out there by himself talking. So call in if you haven't. Give him someone to talk to, feed off some energy. But yeah, that's my call, man.
Well, thank you, Ron. And I do agree about that, man. I am solo podcast 5 days a week, guaranteed. Who else does that in the combat sports industry? Come on. There's people that do 5 podcasts, but 5 solo podcasts? Get the fuck out of here. Thank you for that, Ron. Now, I wanted to touch on something you briefly touched on in the early part of your call about the Max Holloway and Nicco Montano comparison. And it's interesting because obviously the health risk and obviously them being pulled and rushing to the hospital, there's similarities and parallels there. But the fan reaction to it is obviously drastically different. And I think that the best analog to what Montana is going through is Germaine de Randamie and how the fans turned on her for the whole Cyborg fight and that entire situation, let alone the Ollie Holm fight, which was a pain to make as well. And it's interesting because obviously Germaine de Randamie did not, avoid the Cyborg fight because of an injury, really. That never was the case. Here, you have a fighter being hospitalized, and yet their criticisms by the fan bases are uniquely similar, and that is odd to me. I think there's a couple rabbit holes I can go down, but I think smart people out there listening can probably piece it together and connect the dots themselves, where I don't have to. But it just seems that obvious that for whatever reason, you have these 2 UFC fighters that are not company women, are people of color who don't really, go around the average trend or way of doing things in the MMA world. They're not cookie cutter. Yeah, I think there's parallels there. And obviously this is the same fan base that defends neo-Nazi tattoos. It is what it is. But we're going to move over to Santiago, who even though he hasn't pressed 1, I'm assuming he wants to talk. Same with Kyle. Kyle pressed 1 when you want to talk. Santiago, How you doing, man?
Doing good, but busy right now, dude. Just listening.
All right. Thank you, Santiago. Moving over to Kyle. Kyle, how you doing, man? Kyle.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you talk?
Oh, what's up, man? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm just getting ready, getting excited for these fights this weekend. Calling in to make my picks about them.
Go ahead, man. Give me the breakdown. Give me the rundown.
Well, first off, I want to talk about the fight that I'm most excited for this weekend, which is the Danny Garcia-Sean Porter boxing fight. You know, I still consider myself somewhat of a casual boxing fan, but I've been watching both these guys since like 2013-ish, and I'm a fan of both of them. And although I would like to see Sean Porter kind of make it a dogfight, kind of rough Danny up, I just kind of see it going the other way with Danny kind of just outclassing him. I think I could be totally wrong about this assumption, but from watching both guys fight, well, particularly Sean Porter, it seems like he's susceptible to being outclassed by the counterpuncher type guys. And I don't necessarily think Danny Garcia is the best fighter he's ever fought, but I do think he might be the best counterpuncher he's ever fought. And I just kind of think Danny Garcia might come out on top with the, let's say, split decision win. And then moving on to the UFC fights, I got to go with Woodley. Till is huge. I actually met Darren Till this past summer. He really is a gorilla. And I don't know how he makes 170. But, and I do think Darren Till has what it takes to maybe pull off like a split decision win. But I think Woodley's too good for that. I think Woodley's fought he's fought like really great guys in his past, 5, 6, maybe even 7 fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see him losing it all to Darren Till now. I think he'll either catch Till because Till kind of backs up and, well, he doesn't necessarily back up often, but he stands very tall. And he doesn't necessarily tuck his chin down that often. And I think that Woodley's the wrong guy to do that with. And Till has shown us that he can be hit. And again, Woodley's the type of guy that you don't want hitting you. I think Woodley either finishes him or he pulls off the decision. I'm not real sure, but I'm taking Woodley for sure. And I was going to take Valentina, of course, but that's off. Who else we got?
You got the Jessica Andrade, Carolina Kowalkiewicz fight, the John Dodson, Jimmy Rivera fight. Those are 2 good ones.
Well, I've taken Jimmy Rivera by a close decision. I think John Dodson has what it takes to beat him, but John Dodson's one of those guys that just kind of doesn't do enough.
Has no game plan. He has no game. He has no game plan ever.
Yeah. He kind of just goes out there and fights the fight, which can be good sometimes. But I think Jimmy's just gonna pull off a close win. I'm not too confident about it, but I'm taking Jimmy. And then for the Kowalkiewicz and Andrade fight, I'm pretty torn between those two. I think Andrade is on a roll right now, and of course she has been looking so great. But I don't know. I think Kowalkiewicz could maybe stuff her grappling some, could maybe get some offense going. She could maybe outpoint her in a decision. I'm not really sure if I want to sit down on that pick, but who else we got? Oh, Zabit, definitely taking him.
Mm-hmm. Nico Price on the card. That should be a good fight.
Oh yeah, that's actually like out of all the odds I've seen, Nico Price is the best. Well, he's the underdog I like the most.
Yeah, I can't believe he's an underdog. That shocked me. That really did shock me.
Me neither.
The win he had against Randy
Like,
Brown
all his wins
was
are finishes.
The win he had against Randy Brown like a few months ago was insane.
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me.
He could be really good.
He could be. And he has the size for it too. I don't know how he cuts that much weight. He's a big guy. Has the grappling, has the striking, has that finishing instinct. He could go far.
Yeah, and we've only seen Razek fight like only 2 different guys in the UFC, and one of them was Saba Hamasi, which, he's a decent fighter and all, but I just think, like, if you compare resumes, like, there's no question to who's, like, more impressive.
Easily. Yeah, you're right.
But, yeah, that's about it, man. That's all I got, really. Haven't been able to catch the show as often as I'd like this past week, but I've just been real busy. But, shout-outs to the MCR family.
Always.
I like the new studio. The T-shirts look sick. And, yeah, that's it, man.
Thank you, Kyle. Have a good day, man. Make sure you guys hit that like button to the show. Last couple points before we're going to head out of here, because I remembered something I want to talk about from Ron's call about the fill-in fights and always being worried about going to a UFC event. I'm assuming that Ron has never actually gone to a UFC event. I went to the last UFC event I went to, because I've gone to a few, was UFC 199, the one right before UFC 200, right? The main event was supposed to be Luke Rockhold versus Chris Weidman 2. And instead, we got Luke Rockhold versus Michael Bisping 2 in what everyone perceived to be a easy, winnable fight for Luke Rockhold, especially since Michael Bisping came in like 2 weeks' notice. Well, Michael Bisping put on an upset of the year, if not one of the biggest upsets in MMA history, and then proceeded to have an MMA run and a middleweight run at the championship level until he lost to Georges St. Pierre. So even though, Ron, if you're listening still, I know you're not on the callers anymore, you might be listening on YouTube. Obviously Conor McGregor Khabib is an expensive event. Maybe don't go to that one, but a smaller one. Excuse me. Yeah, you go. Like, don't be so worried about that. Obviously, look for a card to have some depth to it. You want fights to intrigue you from the bottom to the top in some capacity. And I know that's kind of maybe hard in today's age, but there are those cards. And I believe you're from the Bay Area. Obviously San Jose eventually has some events. Obviously LA has its sort of like yearly or bi-yearly event, which is always a good one. I would say make the trip, make it worth it. And even like if you're out there and you haven't gone to a boxing event, you haven't gone to an MMA event, go. Even if it's your local regional shit that you don't know the guys that are fighting on it, you haven't heard any of these guys, they're all 5-0, 2-1, 3-0 records, go. Go, go, go. It's worth it. You're going to learn so much about the sport. You're going to enjoy it so much more than you probably realize. And this is speaking from somebody that's more of a homebody, that likes to watch it from the TV, that likes the HD. Being in a either big fight atmosphere or just a fight atmosphere is something uniquely different from any other sport. It really is. From the Canelo Triple Gs, which I've been to live, to fucking your local amateur MMA show. Anything about amateur MMA. Not amateur boxing, amateur MMA show. Down in Garden Grove, California. I've been to both, and they're both awesome. So go, enjoy fights. Ticket sales is a big way for these undercard guys to make money. Oh, Ron calling back in. Apparently he wanted some round 2. I definitely need like a round 2 soundbite from like Mortal Kombat or something. Maybe Tekken. I'm more of a Tekken guy. But anyways, Ron.
Oh, no, it's all good. No, I've been to a lot of fights. I've been to all this stuff. I'm just saying, like, I want to go to some of these, like, bigger, UFC events and things like that. And, I know there's been good things that happen, like the Max Holloway situation went out, and then Brian Ortega just bombs out Frankie Edgar with this crazy Mortal Kombat uppercut. I'm like, oh, snap, these things happen. I was just saying, like, if I'm going to spend money for, like, the big cars, like, if I'm going to go to this Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes, or like I'm always now like, I would hate to spend that money to fly to another state, get the hotel, and be like, damn, the co-main event or the main event just got crapped. That's what I'm scared of. Because, it's super entertaining. Like Matt was saying, if you haven't been to a boxing match, and look, boxing, sometimes they don't even show some of the best fights, or the prospects, there's fights after the main events, at some of these events, and they're extremely fun. But, for some of the events where I have to, cash out a little bit, that's when I kind of pause a little bit and go, is it really worth for me to go to this UFC event, this really, really expensive Vegas one, I'm going to go fly across the country. I'm going to really want to see this Nate Diaz fight. But, Dustin, but
hey, Ron.
It got canceled.
Ron, what's the biggest MMA fight you've seen live and the biggest boxing fight you've seen live? Curious.
I'm trying to think. I've been to many different boxing events. I don't know. I don't know what the biggest boxing event. Probably the biggest one I'm probably going to go to coming up would be the Triple G Canelo. That'd probably be the biggest one I'm going to, the rematch.
Mm-hmm.
For UFC, it was, what was it? There was the Detroit one, Francis Ngannou. He was knocking out Overeem up in Detroit.
I know what card you're talking about. Yeah. Okay, just curious about like what your highest level is of going to an event. I'll say this: boxing events, and just not necessarily for you, but just everyone listening, the high level boxing events, those rarely get canceled. Like the likelihood of those getting canceled is minuscule. So if you're going to spend a lot of money for big fight events, let's say you haven't gone to one yet, spend it on boxing. However, I've been to a big UFC event, and maybe this one doesn't count, but I was at the first ever UFC on Fox event for Cain Velasquez versus Junior Santos 1, and that was insane. And I also forgot this, man. Shots at me. God, I'm awful. I was at Ronda Rousey's first ever UFC fight against Liz Carmouche. Insane atmosphere. So it's worth the money, Ron. Even with the worry of like the fight falling out, save up the money, go to those big fights if you can. It's worth it. It truly is.
Yeah, anytime you go to a fight, I don't think it's a disappointment because it's totally different experience than like watching it on TV. I mean, sometimes you can't even pay attention to the fight because the atmosphere is so intense and it's fun, and you're like glamorized by certain things that are going on, or you see certain things that they don't show on TV, like certain fighters getting into. I don't know, just all the fun stuff. But I'm just saying, like, look, if I got an opportunity to go pay like $5,000, buying the best seat, I'm getting the hotels. I'm doing it like you said to boxing, because boxing 99.9% of the time it still rolls. The show still goes on.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I don't know. I think they had like 22 cancellations this year. I saw someone posted on Twitter. I think I sent it to you. Where they have this year in UFC, they had like 22 either co or main event pullouts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot, man. And so that just really just sets the pattern for me to go, like, I'm going to spend this money and something's going to go wrong. That's how I feel.
No, I understand. I understand, Ron. But the good thing about UFC events, though, is that they are so much more deeper than boxing events. So, like, let's say the co-main or main event drops out. Usually, if you pick the big cards, they stack the big cards nowadays. So you still get your money's worth in some sense. Hopefully, not all the time, but
unless you went to the Khabib and Al Quinta event, practically almost that whole card got scrapped.
That's like what was it? UFC 149 with what was that? Uriah Faber versus Hearn and Barral. Remember that one? Was it UFC 149? God, I'm awful with the numbers. Where the entire card was basically scrapped, and Calgary got the worst MMA fight of all time. Poor guys.
Yeah.
But anyways, Ron,
it happens, man. It's the sport.
Yes, it is.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you for calling in again. Which we don't have a boomerang status over here on this show, but I mean, I guess you can just do that. No one has ever tried that before, so that is now precedence, guys. So if you want to call in twice, you can do that. And quickly, people in the chat before we head out of here, I just love some of these comments. Stewie saying, and sorry, Stewie _motherfucker_ Griffin. I went to UFC 69 at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas, just to see GSP lose. I like that. I like that energy, even though I'm a gigantic GSP fan. Kyle is saying, I encourage every fan to go watch UFC in Vegas at least once in their lives. It's a great time. I've never seen a UFC event in Vegas. I've only been to a big boxing fight in Vegas. Louis saying, I was at AJ Klitschko, Wembley. It was fire emoji. I bet it was. Adding, I heard UFC's atmospheres are fire too. And Louis also adding, unless it's a Frank Warren show, Matt. And, shots fired at Frank Warren. Sample King saying, I went to Mayweather Guerrero. I bet that was fun just because, even though, obviously we knew that fight was trash, the Hispanic community came out for Robert Guerrero. That was still, a fun fight atmosphere. I was working at a bar at that time, and I remember that place was just stacked with people. God, there's people outside on cars looking for, in the windows, looking for TVs and shit in the bar. It was insane. But yes, anyways, everyone, hope everyone has a great day. It is Friday, so that means tomorrow, live fight chats, immediate reactions, all that fun shit with my main man, Santiago. And don't worry. Rubisky, I see it.
It's bullshit.
Don't worry.
I'm Phil. I'm very Phil.
I'm in my feels today, guys. I'm a little bit. I am. But thank you to everyone that called in, everyone that tuned into the show. Lifted my spirits up. It's been a hard day. It's been a rough day. But tonight, going out to a bachelor party. So, just saying, should be fun as well. Check out my IG story, because when Matt's drunk, he goes on Instagram. But anyways, I hope everyone has a great day. Again, hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Louis just signed up to Patreon. Louis, I do apologize. You're not getting a free shirt. But thank you for joining the Patreon movement. Amazing. Kyle, Louis, Rubisky, Santiago, Ron, Castle Hill, Gil, Rick, Sample King, Stewie motherfucker Griffin. God, what a great name. Zoe. Who else? Or Zoe. It's either Zoe or Zoe. If it's one or the other, I apologize. Fernando, Boxing Blunts, Fat Apples, Wayne, Potential Lunatic, Aaron Munoz, Bayside Boxing, and obviously people like Rob, Fugatti, Mitty, the homies, the day ones. But be back tomorrow. As always, have a great day.